A Look at Finance is underwritten by Janney Montgomery Scott, trusted advisors for generations.
Well, welcome back, everyone. It's Thursday, favorite day of the week. I always say that, you know.
I thought it was Friday. Come on.
Oh, all right.
All right.
But that means that Steve Carlton, first vice president of Janney Montgomery Scott, is here to talk about a week of finance, a look at finance.
We're not going to talk about the weather?
Well, we could if you like.
We could. It's
Yeah,
still
right.
freezing. What's happening?
Well, let's celebrate our anniversary. Not our anniversary,
Our
but
anniversary.
a significant anniversary.
5 years.
5 years
Yeah.
since?
Yeah, 5 years since the bottom of the market, if you can believe it. 5 years ago today was the absolute bottom of the stock market. So that was big, big news.
You know, I remember that.
Yeah.
It was 7,000 or something.
Yeah, so the number 666 on the S&P 500,
Yes, right,
the
right.
Dow in the 7,000 range. So it were some scary numbers. A lot of fear and trepidation. We thought we were looking at the end of the world, and a lot of people looking on saying this was
telling me.
scary. 5 years from now, all-time highs. Look at it. In the
Right.
S&P, all-time high. NASDAQ, 14-year high. The Dow within 100 points of the all-time high. So these are some pretty amazing numbers.
Well, because we're talking about, if I'm doing my math correctly, not my strong suit, as you know, but 9,000 point swing. I mean, that's incredible, isn't it?
It's incredible.
I know.
Yeah.
Job numbers coming out lower than expected. We reported the other day on the ADP number, and I think it was 139,000, something like that. Lower than expected. 180,000 is what they expected, something?
Yeah, we really wanted to see, and we've been watching this for some time, we need to see job numbers, growth in jobs of over 200,000 to really be sustainable, to really drop the number of unemployment. Unemployment's at 6.6% right now. To really get to that 5.5% or lower, we've got to see new hires, new jobs in the 200,000 range. So this number was not a good, strong number.
Well, you're the expert. How much do you blame on the weather? We're in the dead of winter, a winter that won't let go in the Northeast.
Yeah.
Does that affect it?
Well, I talking to so many of my clients, so many of them said, you know what, Steve, I don't want to come see you. It's too cold. I don't want to leave the house. And so I have to imagine talking even to some of the small business owners on Broadway in Saratoga, people didn't want to get out of their cars. They didn't want to come in town to go shopping because it was just too cold. So I have to believe that, yes, we've had cold winters in the past, but this was unseasonably cold. I mean, some of these numbers were, just unbearably cold. I mean, Niagara Falls froze over again just this last week, and, the Great Lakes are frozen. This has to have had an effect of just keeping people indoors.
And apparently some profits are frozen or not heading in the right direction for some big players.
Yeah.
We had announced earlier this week that Radio Shack closing 1,000, 1,100 stores. There's some news about Staples today. And you had a very interesting term that you used prior to us coming on air. Margin compression. Explain to us what that is.
Yeah, so margin compression just means the amount that a company can charge customers versus the amount that it costs them to produce the product or to sell the service. And so what we were talking about earlier was what was going on with Costco. And so Costco missed some numbers today that weren't as strong as people expected. And they talked a little bit about margin compression. And that simply means that they weren't able to raise prices because consumers are hurting, but yet their costs were going up. And so that's not unique to Costco. I think most small business owners, most companies out there, it's very, very difficult to pass on increasing costs to the customer.
Well, to our small business in Saratoga, Glens Falls, Boston Spa, do you sense any kind of a cultural shift then, away from big box stores to smaller stores? I know that's a hard question. But.
No, but I think there is a cultural shift because we went, from really the last 15, 20 years where we got to the point where there's a Lowe's and a Home Depot and a Best Buy on every corner across America. And I think that can't go on forever. And I think we've really reached capacity where, there's too much competition. If you've got Lowe's on one side of the street and Home Depot on the other, there's really only so many customers out there to compete for. And so I think the numbers that we saw with Staples, cutting back 225 stores, you mentioned the shift with Radio Shack. A lot of these big box stores are having to evaluate, do we have too many stores in too small a market? And so that's going to continue.
Right, and I also think that, the whole idea that if you're a small store, specialized small store, a niche store, that you have the benefit also of the internet.
Sure.
That your footprint is automatically bigger
Yep.
from anywhere in the world. You could make the argument, right?
Well, think how that's changed everything. I mean, even when you think about Look TV, the local community station that people watch, People now in China, people now in South Korea, people anywhere in the world can go online and view these things that we're talking about.
Well, we get people in Florida who vacation in the winter down in Florida who watch us online.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what you mean. You're not getting away today until we talk about casino gambling.
That's a hot topic. Very contentious. Yeah.
Amazing. As our viewers know, we've been covering it in depth. We did the city council meetings. We have the program Beyond the Headlines. We're covering it on the news. And, you know, we do not editorialize, so we're trying very hard to present all different sides of it. It's an emotional issue. What do you hear? What are your clients saying?
You know, it's a, like you said, contentious, highly emotionally charged. And you know, I've just spent a lot of time listening. You know, I've got clients on both sides. I've got people that have grown up in Saratoga, spent their whole lives here, care deeply about the cultural and the atmosphere, the unique qualities at Saratoga, and they feel very, very strongly that this threatens that uniqueness of Saratoga. And then I have business owners on the other side who've talked about the financial benefits, the struggle that a lot of restaurants have of not having enough traffic in the wintertime, and you know, consumer spending being down, and then you know, having a casino could possibly bring in more tourists and help. So I think this is something that is very, very difficult because there are real serious long-term potential from a financial perspective for businesses, but there's also some very legitimate social concerns, and I worry about both of them.
Well, you know what, you're in a very unique position because as a financial advisor, people will tell you on both sides of the issue why they think, what they feel the benefits are for their position.
Right.
You know, we hear on short, and I'm not saying short term, but, you know, what does it do for the quality of life and whatever? And if you were to look, would you agree with me? If you were to look at the health of a community long term, both issues from both sides are important because they talk about the quality of life, and essentially the quality of life is the fuel for economic growth, right?
Yeah, absolutely. These social issues, you know, if you had the opportunity to do the city council meeting where it went to vote, listening to all the different people that got up over that 2-hour period and shared their feelings and opinions about this stuff, you're right that with a difficult, challenging economy in many respects, a lot of small business owners just trying to keep the employees and pay the bills, there's definitely there's some financial incentives with this. But then you know, like you said, this is not easy. The more I listen, the more I hear what people have to say. You know, the more clouded this becomes. You know, this is not an easy topic to just fall on one side or the other. Can I see both sides? Absolutely. Could this be executed successfully? Possibly. But I think the only way that if that's ever to happen is both sides have to listen, both sides have to collaborate, and not just gloss over things, because I think there are real serious things that have tremendous potential, but could also, you know, negatively affect Saratoga.
Sure, we'll see when the emotions sort of calm down a bit. I think that we'll see, and of course we're going to be covering this extensively, and every week I think I want to touch on it.
Yeah.
Well, good, Steve. Thanks.
Thanks,
for
Jesse.
coming in.
Always a pleasure. Enjoy these talks. Definitely.
Yeah, good. Me too. And I'll see you next Thursday.
Thanks very much.
To see this interview again, head to our website, looktvonline.com.